Arteta is on his way out. Arsenal have already found his replacement, and it's another Spanish passport. Lewandowski is leaving Barcelona. Spain stays. The club changes. Carrick makes his first big signing at Man United. So, who's the star heading to Old Trafford? Real Madrid have made a decision on Endrick. Staying or going? All this and much more in today's episode. Let's try and get to 300 likes on this video, and I'll be back tomorrow with more transfer madness. Leave a like and let's dive straight in. 18 points. That's not a gap, that's a different postcode. Liverpool, a club that spent £440 million assembling their squad, currently find themselves in a relegation-style scramble just to reach the Champions League places. And yet, Arne Slot is going nowhere. According to David Ornstein, FSG have made their decision. The Dutchman stays. Contract through 2027, full backing, summer investment incoming. The board has apparently identified what they call clear mitigations, which is a very corporate way of saying it's not entirely his fault and we'd rather not start over. And they're not entirely wrong. Inheriting Klopp's dressing room was never going to be a clean handover. It was always going to be more of a controlled demolition. Salah off in the summer, Robertson confirmed gone, Alisson and Van Dijk, two of the most decorated players in the club's recent history. Both showing the kind of cracks that don't get plastered over, they get replaced. That's not a squad in transition, that's a squad in the process of being dismantled and rebuilt at the same time, while results are still expected. So, what's the plan? 3 to 4 first-team signings, a net spend of around £150 million, and a wide player firmly at the top of the list, the direct consequence of losing the most productive attacker in Premier League history. Whether whoever comes in can fill that particular void is a question nobody at Anfield is ready to answer out loud just yet. The project, as FSG frame it, is still developing, which either means they have a genuine long-term vision or they've simply decided that sacking a manager 22 months in would look considerably worse than keeping him and spending their way through the problem. Knowing FSG, probably a bit of both. Manchester United want Sandro Tonali, Newcastle need money, and Manuel Ugarte apparently needs a way out of Old Trafford. Funny how neatly that all lines up. According to Football Insider, United are exploring the possibility of using Ugarte as part of any deal for the Newcastle midfielder, a move that would serve the dual purpose of offloading a player they've quietly given up on, while simultaneously driving down a transfer fee that's nudging 9 figures. 2 problems, 1 transaction, very tidy on paper. The Ugarte situation is worth spelling out plainly. United don't trust him. He never truly adapted to the pace and physicality of Premier League football, and the decision to move him on this summer has apparently already been made. The only outstanding question is the destination. Newcastle are interested, so are others. Ugarte's own preference remains open, and there's even a possibility he leaves England altogether. Which brings us to Newcastle's side of this equation, and it's considerably messier. The Magpies are watching a top half finish slip away from them. European football next season is looking less like a plan and more like a wish. And clubs in that position don't hold the leverage they think they do, not when the player himself might be eyeing the exit regardless. Tonali, for his part, is unlikely to spend his peak years waiting for a club to sort out its league position. Champions League football will be the deciding factor. United are projecting a top 5 finish and presenting themselves as a credible option on that basis. Whether the numbers and the package actually work is another matter entirely, but the shape of the deal is there. Whether both clubs are willing to stand in it is the question this summer will answer. Robert Lewandowski's contract at Barcelona expires this summer. No extension signed, no announcement imminent, and, according to Fichajes, Atletico Madrid have already made their move. The Colchoneros have opened quiet lines of communication with Lewandowski's camp, not to make a splash, but to plant a flag early. The logic is ruthlessly straightforward. Why spend 60 or 70 million on a striker when you can wait a few months and collect the same one for nothing? There is, however, one complication Barcelona have kept tucked away. His current deal contains an automatic 1-year extension clause, triggered if his performance meets certain undisclosed parameters. That clause is the entire hinge of this operation. If Barcelona activate it, Atletico's free transfer window slams shut overnight. if they don't, Simeone gets a world-class centre-forward without spending a single euro on the fee. So what we're watching here is less a transfer pursuit and more a controlled vigil. Atletico aren't charging in, they're hovering deliberately, monitoring whether Barcelona pull that lever or leave it untouched. And the need at the Metropolitano is genuine. Simeone's side have leaked goals at one end before, but the real problem this season has been manufacturing them at the other. Lewandowski, still sharp, still clinical, the kind of forward who makes an entire front line look more dangerous simply by occupying the right positions. Fits the profile precisely. The question worth sitting with, though, is whether Lewandowski actually fancies this. At 37, you don't chase projects, you chase certainty. Barcelona, for all their structural disorder, still hands him the spotlight. Atletico offers a title fight, Simeone's unconditional belief, and a dressing room that knows how to grind out wins. Whether that's a compelling enough trade-off, Barcelona's decision on that clause will answer it for him. Marcus Senesi, Bournemouth, free transfer. And suddenly Manchester United, Tottenham, Chelsea and Juventus are all circling the same piece of fruit. Before we get into the details, a quick public service announcement for those of you watching on the telly. Yes, the YouTube TV app actually does have a like button. Shocking. I know you put this video on, threw the remote to the other side of the couch, and have zero intention of moving for the next 10 minutes, but do me a massive favor. Dig it out of the cushions and drop a like. Consider it your cardio for the day. According to Give Me Sport, United are in active talks with the Argentine's representatives. He's 28, out of contract this summer, and carrying 110 Premier League appearances on his CV. In the current market, that last detail alone is worth something. The thing about free transfers, clubs love to dress them up as clever business. And sometimes they are. But sometimes, free just means everyone else already said no, and you're the last one holding the door open. The question with Senesi is which version of this story United are actually writing, because the squad depth argument doesn't quite hold. Maguire, Martinez, De Ligt, Yoro, there's already a central defensive unit with more layers than most clubs in the league. Adding a fifth option doesn't fix a problem, it creates a new one. Unless, of course, United are expecting a departure or two before the window shuts, which, given recent history, is not exactly an outlandish assumption. What Senesi does offer is something United's recruitment model has quietly started to prioritize: familiarity with the league, composure in possession, and absolutely zero adaptation period. He arrives knowing the tempo, knowing the physicality, no settling in tacks. Will it move the needle on the pitch? Probably not dramatically, but not every signing needs to. Some pieces exist to hold the structure together while the marquee business gets done elsewhere. So, smart depth or a squad logjam in the making? Drop your take below. Marc Casado, Barcelona Academy product, potential summer departure, and the queue forming outside his door already has a Saudi stamp on one end and a Premier League postcode on the other. According to Tutto Mercato, Casado's situation at the club has not gone unnoticed. He's drifted to the margins, and Barcelona, characteristically, are weighing their options. Meaning, if the price is right, he goes. The Saudi angle exists. It always exists these days. But for a player at this stage of his career, Riyadh represents a ceiling, not a launch pad. You don't rebuild your reputation in a league that the football world monitors, with mild curiosity at best. The Premier League, though, that's a different conversation entirely. Here's what makes Casado an interesting prospect for English clubs. He's been educated inside one of the most tactically demanding systems in European football. That kind of formation leaves a mark. Positional discipline, comfort in tight spaces, the ability to keep the ball moving under pressure. Four sides in the upper middle tier of the Premier League seeking technical stability rather than raw athleticism in midfield, that profile has genuine appeal. Spurs, specifically, get a mention here, and it's not an accident. A system built around possession and structured transitions needs a midfielder who thinks before he moves. Casado, on paper, fits that description. But here's the part nobody wants to sit with too long. Barcelona's conveyor belt produces technically refined players regularly. Not all of them survive the translation. The Premier League has a particular talent for exposing composure that was never truly tested at the highest level. So, calculated gamble or quietly inspired piece of business? What do you think? Endrick went to Lyon in January for one reason. He wasn't getting football at Real Madrid. 6 goals and 6 assists from 16 appearances later. That loan spell looks like the best piece of squad management the club has stumbled into all season. But here's the thing. According to Mario Cortegana of The Athletic, Endrick won't be leaving in the summer. Real Madrid have decided, clearly and without much deliberation, that the 19-year-old is staying. No offers entertained. The window shut before anyone outside the club knew it was open, which is a sharp reversal. His entourage had been quietly preparing to weigh up their options. Come the end of the season, offers were expected. A review was on the table. Then Madrid stepped in, made their position plain, and apparently that was enough. With Gonzalo Garcia set to depart, the picture becomes straightforward. Endrick slots in as the direct backup to Kylian Mbappe at centre forward. From a teenager who couldn't break into the matchday squad to the man standing directly behind the most prominent striker at the club, 6 months in France have done a great deal of work there. Real Madrid invested heavily when they brought him through from Palmeiras. Lyon, it turns out, has been the evidence they needed. The decision has been made. Endrick belongs at Madrid, and now, so does his future. 70 points on the board, still breathing in Europe, and yet the knives are already being sharpened. According to Mundo Deportivo, Arsenal's hierarchy have one eye on the exit door and the other fixed firmly on the trophy cabinet, which remains conspicuously bare. The logic at the Emirates has shifted. The board have spent. The squad has been assembled with intent, the patience has been extended, window after window, season after season, and now the ledger is open and the club want to see a return. No silverware this campaign, again, and Arteta may discover that institutional goodwill has a very specific expiry date. A name has already entered the conversation. Cesc Fabregas. 8 seasons in North London as a player, currently in the dugout at Como, where his side are pushing for European football on the back of progressive, attacking football that has turned heads in some rather specific boardrooms, including, reportedly, his former one. The familiarity argument carries weight. Fabregas understands what Arsenal demands, not in the abstract, but in the daily grind of it. The expectations, the culture, the very particular pressure that accumulates at that club when the weight stretches on, and the weight is stretching. A deep run in Europe this season would alter the conversation considerably. Buy time, rebuild the narrative, remind the doubters what this project looked like before the Bournemouth defeat handed Manchester City. Sitting 6 points back with games in hand, a very welcome invitation back into the title race. Quick question, if you watch this channel religiously but refuse to subscribe, how does it feel to have more patience than the Arsenal board? Because that's actually quite concerning. Do the decent thing and subscribe before I start a GoFundMe for my mental health. In elite football, momentum shapes the story as often as results do, and right now, the story has started writing itself without Arteta's permission.